The gunshot echoed through the parking garage like thunder trapped in concrete, and in that split second, Marcus Reid made a choice that would shatter and rebuild two worlds. He didn't think about his daughter waiting at home or the bills piled on his kitchen counter. He just saw a young woman frozen in terror as a masked figure raised a weapon, and his body moved before his mind could catch up. The bullet meant for someone else tore through his shoulder, spinning him to the ground, but his arms stayed wrapped around the stranger, shielding her as they fell together into darkness. Marcus had been working security at Hartwell Industries for 3 years, the kind of invisible job where you blend into the background of other people's important lives. He was 42, graying at the temples, with calloused hands and a smile that rarely reached his eyes anymore. His wife had left when their daughter Emma was only 5, deciding that motherhood and a struggling marriage weren't worth staying for, and in the 7 years since, Marcus had become both mother and father, protector and provider. He worked double shifts when he could, came home to help with homework, and fell asleep most nights in front of the television with Emma curled against his side. Life was small and hard and exhausting, but it was theirs, and he wouldn't have traded a single moment of it. The woman he'd saved was Claire Hartwell, 26 years old and heir to a corporate empire worth hundreds of millions. She'd been leaving late from the office, alone despite her father's constant warnings about security, because she'd wanted to feel normal for once, wanted to pretend she was just another person finishing another day of work. Instead, she found herself in a nightmare, and then suddenly in the arms of a stranger who'd given everything to keep her alive. Marcus spent 2 weeks in the hospital recovering from surgery, and Claire visited every single day, sitting beside his bed with guilt and gratitude, warring in her eyes. If you believe in ordinary people doing extraordinary things, if you believe that one moment of courage can change everything, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Share this story with someone who needs to believe in heroes again. Your support means the world. When Marcus finally came home, weak and bandaged and facing months of physical therapy, he found that the bills hadn't stopped coming just because he'd stopped a bullet. His savings evaporated within weeks. The apartment that had always been cramped suddenly felt like it was closing in around them. Emma, 12 now and wise beyond her years, started talking about getting a job, and the look in her eyes when she said it nearly broke him. He'd always been able to fix things, always found a way, but this felt like drowning in slow motion. The injury had cost him his job, the medical bills were crushing, and pride kept him from asking for help from the one person who kept showing up at his door. Claire Hartwell didn't understand why Marcus kept refusing her offers of money, kept insisting he was fine when clearly he wasn't. She'd grown up in a world where problems were solved with checkbooks and lawyers, where gratitude was expressed through generous donations and thank you galas. But Marcus wasn't a charity case or a public relations opportunity. He was a man trying to hold on to his dignity while his world crumbled, and it took her 3 months of persistent visits to finally understand what he actually needed. Not a handout, but a hand up. Not pity, but partnership. She offered him a job, not in security, but in her father's company, working in operations management, a position that would use his organizational skills and his natural leadership. The salary was 4 times what he'd been making. Marcus wanted to refuse on principle, wanted to insist he didn't need saving, but when he looked at Emma doing homework at their kitchen table under a flickering light bulb, he realized that pride was a luxury he could no longer afford. He said yes, and something shifted in both their lives. Over the following year, Marcus proved himself in ways that had nothing to do with the bullet he'd taken. He was brilliant at logistics, at seeing problems before they became crises, at treating every person from the janitorial staff to the executive board with the same quiet respect. Claire watched him transform the company's culture simply by being himself, and somewhere along the way, gratitude became friendship, and friendship became something neither of them had been looking for. Emma had a mother figure for the first time in years, someone who showed up to school plays and braided her hair and made her laugh. Claire had a family, real and imperfect, and more valuable than anything her father's money had ever bought. If this story touched your heart, if you believe in second chances and unexpected families, please leave a comment telling us about a time someone showed you unexpected kindness. We read every single one, and your stories inspire us to keep sharing these moments of hope. Marcus still carried the scar on his shoulder, a permanent reminder of the night everything changed, but he wore it differently now. Not as a badge of honor or a mark of sacrifice, but as evidence that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is simply be present when someone needs you. He'd whispered those words to Claire as she lay terrified in his arms, blood spreading across the concrete, and they'd become a promise that extended far beyond that terrible moment. You're safe, kid, and in saving her, in choosing courage over self-preservation, he'd somehow saved himself too, finding a life bigger and brighter than anything he'd imagined possible in those long, lonely years of just surviving. Sometimes the bullet you take for a stranger becomes the thing that finally brings you home,